Welcome to Let's Talk English podcast. Learn English with podcast.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We're thrilled you have decided to join us. Today, we are taking our information from a fascinating source that breaks down practical, everyday English conversations.
Right, the real conversations people actually have.
Yes, it focuses completely on what happens when one friend visits another friend at home. We are not looking at formal business English or, textbook grammar. We are looking at the exact words that make human beings feel safe and welcome in a home.
That is the most important part, I think. Textbooks often teach us how to be perfectly correct, but being perfectly correct does not always make people feel perfectly comfortable.
I completely agree, and I am so happy to have our expert guest here to help me unpack all of this. Thank you for being here. You always help us look beneath the surface of simple words.
Well, it is wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I am really looking forward to exploring this topic with you and with our listener today.
Before we start walking through the steps of a visit, I want to challenge a common idea. A lot of people, especially those learning a new language, believe that a good visit depends on having zero grammar mistakes.
Oh, yeah, that is a big fear.
Right. They think if they use the wrong verb, well, the whole visit is ruined. How do you view this pressure?
I think that pressure is completely in the wrong place. A successful visit has almost nothing to do with perfect language. And it has nothing to do with having a perfect house either.
That is so interesting. What is it about then?
It is entirely about using words as tools for connection. Think about what a house is. A house is a person's safest place. When you invite someone inside, you are opening up your safe place to them.
Wow, that is a great point. It is very personal.
Exactly. The only goal of the words you use is to tell the guest, you belong here. And for the guest to tell the host, I respect this space.
That makes a lot of sense. So the words are just ways to carry a feeling. Let us trace this journey from the very beginning. We are back on that welcome mat. The door opened.
The big moment.
Yes, the moment of arrival. The source material talks about the first words the host should say. It suggests using come on in or please come in. Why are these specific phrases so good to use?
They are effective because they actively pull the person across the border of the doorway.
Mm-hmm.
The phrase come on in is very warm. The word on makes it feel continuous and encouraging.
Like you really want them to keep moving inside.
Right. It almost like reaching out a hand, please come in, is slightly softer and more polite, but it does the same job. They both lower the natural worry a person feels when standing outside.
The source also points out a word that a host should never use. It says we should avoid opening the door and simply saying, enter.
Oh, yes. Never say that to a friend.
This makes me think of a doctor's office or maybe a police station. Why does that word fail in a home?
Well, it fails because enter is a command. It is an order.
Yeah.
When you say enter, you are speaking from a position of power. You are like the guard of a castle allowing someone inside.
Oh, I see. It creates a big wall between the two people.
Yeah, exactly. It creates distance. But when friends visit, you want to remove distance. You want to be equals. Come on in invites a friend. Enter gives an order to a stranger.
I see the difference clearly now. So the host has invited the guest inside. The guest steps inside the house. Now, we reach what the source calls a crucial piece of courtesy, which means a very important polite action.
And this is usually where people get nervous.
Yes, this is the question about shoes. The guest should ask, shoes on or shoes off? Or maybe, should I take my shoes off? But I want to ask you about this. Is this really a huge question, or is it just a tiny detail? Why do shoes matter so much?
It matters deeply because it is the first test of respect for the host's own area. Every home has its own private rules.
So it changes from house to house?
Yes, completely.
Yeah.
Some families view the floor just like the street outside, so keeping shoes on is fine. Other families view the floor like a clean bed, a clean space where children play and people sit.
That makes sense.
By asking shoes on or shoes off, the guest is sending a very clear signal. They are saying, I see that I am in your home and I will follow your rules.
Wow, really? So the question is not actually about the dirt on the shoes at all. It is about showing respect for the host's authority over the space.
Exactly. If you do not ask and you just guess, you risk breaking a very important rule. The source material actually shares a very uncomfortable story about this exact mistake.
Oh, please share the story. What happened when the rule was broken?
Well, it involves a young man visiting his aunt. It was a rainy day outside. His shoes were very wet and covered in dirt from the street.
Oh no, I can already see where this is going.
Right. When she opened the door, he walked straight past the mat and into the house. He did not ask the shoe question at all. He completely ignored the rule.
That sounds like a disaster. How did the Anne handle it? Did she yell at him to leave?
No, her reaction was much worse than yelling. She simply stood there and looked down at his dirty footprints on her clean floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then she slowly lifted her eyes to look at his face. Finally, she looked back down at the floor again. She did not say a single word.
That is so intense. Her silence carried the entire feeling of her disappointment.
It really did.
But let us think about that. Why didn't she just say, please take your shoes off? Why choose to be silent and angry?
Because the unspoken rules of a home are deeply personal. For her, protecting the clean space was a basic truth of her life. When he walked in with wet shoes, well, it felt like a personal insult to her hard work.
So she was just too shocked to speak normally.
Yes, exactly. She was likely too shocked and offended to speak nicely. Her silence was a way of showing that the trust between them had been completely broken. The young man realized right away that his failure to ask a 5-second question had ruined the start of the whole visit.
That is a harsh lesson to learn. But what if there is a problem? For instance, what if a guest has a medical issue with their feet and they really need to keep their shoes on? Or maybe they are just very embarrassed to be in their socks. If the host says shoes off, but the guest feels bad about it, how do they handle that using simple words?
That is a brilliant question. It shows how tricky these social moments can be. If a guest truly needs to keep their shoes on, they should explain the reason simply and gently.
What exactly should they say?
They could say, I have a bit of trouble with my feet. Do you mind if I keep my shoes on? Most hosts will immediately care more about the guest's physical comfort than the cleanliness of the floor.
That is a great point.
The key is that the guest still asked for permission. They still showed respect for the rule, even if they had to ask to break it.
That makes perfect sense. The respect is in the asking, not just in the action of taking the shoes off. So let us move past the doorway. The shoes are sorted out. We are standing in the hallway.
Yes, the next stage of the visit.
Usually, this is the moment when the guest hands over whatever they brought with them. This brings us to the social art of the small gift. The source talks about a very specific phrase. I didn't want to come empty-handed.
This is one of the most interesting phrases we use. It carries a lot of social meaning.
To arrive empty-handed is a very clear picture. You have nothing in your hands to offer. But why does arriving with nothing feel bad? We are visiting friends, not paying a ticket to get into a movie. Why is there a pressure to bring something?
Well, it connects to very old ideas of sharing. When someone invites you to their home, they're giving you their things. They're offering you their time, their heat, their space, and usually their food.
Right, they're doing a lot of work.
Exactly. This creates a tiny unbalance. As a guest, you naturally want to make things equal again. Bringing a small gift, like the box of sweet biscuits mentioned in the source, is a token.
A token to say thank you.
Yes. It is a physical way of saying, I am adding to this visit. I am not just taking from you, I am bringing something to you.
So the box of biscuits is a tool to manage that balance. I really like that idea. When the guest hands over the gift and says, I didn't want to come empty-handed, they're showing care. But the source talks about how the host should reply. And that is what really catches my attention. The host is supposed to say, you didn't have to.
Yes, that is a very classic English response.
But let me challenge this. If I spend time going to a shop to pick out the perfect biscuits for my friend, and I hand them over and my friend says, you didn't have to, well, I might feel a little sad. It sounds like they are saying my hard work was not needed. Why wouldn't the host just say, thank you so much, I love these?
I completely understand why it might sound like a bad thing at first. But you have to look at the feeling beneath the words. If a host only says, thank you, I love these, the focus stays entirely on the object.
It makes the biscuits the most important thing.
Exactly. It makes the gift the center of attention. When the host adds, you didn't have to, they are shifting the focus back to the guest. They're sending a very important message. Your presence in my home is what I truly care about. You do not need to buy my love. The gift is a beautiful extra thing, but you are the main event.
Oh, wow, I see. It is a way of protecting the guest from feeling like the gift was forced. It is telling them that just being there is enough.
Yes, exactly. It removes the feeling of a business trait. Other phrases the source mentions, like you shouldn't have, do the exact same work. It's a polite little lie. Of course, the host is happy you brought the biscuits. But the social rules require them to say, your company is better than your gift.
Let me ask you about your own habits when you are the guest. What do? You are visiting a friend for a casual afternoon tea. Do you prefer to bring a physical item, or do you feel comfortable just showing up with a big smile and good conversation?
Well, I almost always bring a physical item, even if it is incredibly simple, like a small bag of coffee beans or some fresh fruit. I find that the physical act of handing something over when the door opens gives me something to do with my hands.
Oh, that is so true. It gives you an action.
Right. It breaks the initial nervous feeling. It provides an immediate thing to talk about.
Right.
I can say, oh, I saw these at the market and thought of you. It makes the move from the doorway to the hallway much smoother. What about you? How do you approach it?
I am very similar. I use it to start the conversation easily. If I bring a small treat, we can talk about the treat instead of awkwardly asking, "How are you?" while trying to figure out where to hang my coat. It acts like a bridge between the outside world and relaxing inside the house.
A bridge is the perfect way to describe it.
So we have crossed the bridge of the hallway, the coats are hung up, the gift is placed on the kitchen table. Now we have to move into the actual living room. The source provides phrases the host uses to move the guest into the room, like "make yourself at home" and "settle in."
These are the phrases that finally tell the guest to drop their guard. The physical walk inside is complete, and now the mental change needs to happen.
But what does "make yourself at home" actually tell the guest to do? If I literally made myself at home, I might put my feet on the small table and turn on the television. That seems like a bad idea.
You are right. Taking it literally would be a huge mistake. Make yourself at home does not mean pretend you own my house. It means stop acting like a formal stranger.
Okay, so it is about relaxing.
Yes, it is permission to relax your body. It is an invitation to sit back against the soft chair instead of sitting stiffly on the very edge. When a host says settle in, they are asking you to let go of your travel worries and become part of the calm room.
That brings us to a concept in the source material that I found deeply fascinating. The source calls it realistic hospitality. It describes a host who serves snacks they just bought from a normal shop, and they openly admit to only cleaning the house for 7 minutes before the guest arrived.
That is one of the most relatable moments in the entire source.
Yeah.
The 7-minute panic clean. Everyone knows that feeling.
Yes, the panic clean. We all know that feeling of running around hiding messy things in cupboards. But here is what I want to talk about. In the past, having guests was about showing off your best life. You used the best plates, you cooked the most difficult food, you cleaned the floors until they shined. Why does the source suggest that admitting to normal shop food and a messy house is actually a good thing? Doesn't it show a lack of care?
It is a brilliant change in how we view friendship. You are right that in the past, hosting was a show of wealth and perfection. But being perfect creates distance.
What do you mean by distance?
Well, if I invite you over and everything is 100% perfect, the food is amazing, the house looks like a photograph. It can actually make you feel strange. You might become terrified of dropping a piece of food. You might feel that your own home is not good enough compared to mine. Perfection creates a ladder, and it puts the host at the top.
Wow, so the perfection actually causes the guest to feel more stress.
Exactly. High effort often equals high stress, and stress spreads easily. If the host is super tired from cooking for 3 days, the guest will feel that tight energy. Realistic hospitality destroys that stress.
How does it destroy the stress?
When a host says, I just bought these chips from the corner shop, and please ignore the clothes on that chair, they are being open and honest. They're saying, I care about seeing you more than I care about looking perfect. That honesty makes the guest feel instantly safe.
I love that idea. I care about seeing you more than I care about looking perfect. It is an invitation to just be normal humies together.
Yes, exactly. And this connects directly to another point in the source. The size of the group. The source compares a small visit of 2 or 3 people to a large party of 30 people.
Oh, I remember the funny line from the source about the large party. The host joked that if 30 people came into their small living room, the room itself would resign. It would just quit its job as a room.
It was a great picture in the mind. The room waving a white flag and giving up.
Why is the small visit so much better for this realistic hospitality? Can't you be casually honest with 30 people?
It's much harder. The feeling of a big crowd is different from the feeling of a real conversation. When you have 30 people in a room, you are running a business.
A business.
Yeah, you are managing code storage, bathroom lines, drink supplies, and noise. The host becomes a manager, not a friend. The guests form small groups, and the host has to constantly walk around the room checking on things.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. But with 2 or 3 people, the management disappears. You can all fit on one sofa. You can all share one pot of tea. The focus shifts entirely from managing the room to actually listening to each other's words.
So the physical space changes how deep the feelings can go. A small group allows for a long, deep conversation, while a large group only allows for quick, simple talking.
Precisely. In a small visit, you can finally catch up on someone's real life.
And usually, that deep conversation happens around food and drink. Let us move into the details of the snack table. Offering drinks comes with its own complex set of rules. The sourceless ways the host might offer a drink, like, "Can I get you anything?" or simply, "tea, coffee, or water."
Those are standard, reliable phrases. They start the process.
But the interesting part is how the guest answers. If the guest does not want anything, the source says they can reply, "I'm good, thanks." I want to break down this specific phrase because it can be confusing for language learners. If I am offered tea and I say I am good, it sounds like I am saying I am a good person. Or it might sound like I am saying the tea is bad, but I am good. What is the actual job of I'm good here?
It is a great phrase to explain. I'm good. In the situation has nothing to do with being a good person or judging the tea. It is a fast way to say you are completely happy as you are. It means my current feeling is good. I do not need anything. I am not thirsty. I am not hungry. I am perfectly comfortable just sitting here with you.
That is a very helpful explanation. It is a gentle way to say no.
Right. Saying a sharp no can sound mean. Saying I'm good softens the no by explaining why you do not need the drink.
But what happens when the no is not accepted? The source describes a very common, very funny habit called the polite dance.
Ah, yes, the polite dance. This is where human habits meet the snack table. It's something found in almost every culture, though it looks a little different depending on where you live.
Let us walk through the steps of this dance. How does it usually happen?
It usually starts with a big offer. The host says, "I baked this cake today. Please have a large piece." The guest, who might actually be very hungry, feels the social pressure to not look greedy. So the guest performs the first step of the dance, the polite refusal. They say, "Oh no, thank you. It looks lovely, but I couldn't."
Wait, even if they really want it?
Exactly. They say no to show they are polite. The host expects this refusal, so the host moves to step 2, the gentle push. The host says, "Are you sure? Just have a tiny piece. You must try it."
And then what does the guest do?
The guest then performs step 3,
Yeah.
slow acceptance. The guest says, "Well, all right, it's a very small piece." And the final step is the host ignoring the request for a small piece, cutting a massive piece of cake, and handing it over. And the guest eats the whole thing.
That is so interesting. It is like a play with actors. Both people know their lines. Both people know how it ends. But why do we go through this fake argument? Why not just say, "Yes, I would love a piece of cake"?
Because in many places, the act of giving and getting food means a lot. If the guest says yes immediately, they risk looking like they only came to eat. They risk looking selfish. By saying no first, the guest proves that they came for the friendship, not the food.
And what about the host?
On the host's side, if they just accept the first no, they risk looking cheap or mean. By pushing the guest to eat, the host proves they're generous and want the guest to be happy. The dance allows both people to prove they are good friends.
The source has a beautiful quote about this. It notes that in some families, food is not part of the welcome, food is the welcome.
I think that captures the heart of visiting for millions of people.
Let us look deeper at that. If food is the welcome, what happens to the words? Do the words lose their power?
The words become less important than the action. In a house where food is the main way to show love, the host does not need to say, "I am so happy you are here, I value our friendship." That is too difficult to say. Instead, they put a plate of hot food in front of you.
So the food speaks for them.
Yes. The warmth of the food shows the warmth of their feelings. The hard work it took to cook the food shows their care for you. If you refuse the food in that house, you are not just saying no to eating, you are saying no to their love. That is why the host gives you enough food for 3 people when you ask for a little. They are trying to give you maximum love.
Wow, really? That changes how I look at hosts who push food on me. They are not trying to force me to eat, they are trying to love me. However, the source gives some practical advice for a standard casual English visit. It suggests that this complex polite dance is not really needed.
That is a very important point for anyone learning simple English. While the dance exists in small ways, modern casual English culture really likes clear and direct talking.
So if a listener is visiting an English-speaking friend and the host offers a biscuit, the guest does not need to pretend they don't want it.
Not at all. If you want the biscuit, the best answer is a direct, happy yes. You can just say, "Yes, please, I would love one." It saves time, it stops confusion, and it keeps the visit relaxed.
What if they really do not want to eat?
If you genuinely do not want anything, a simple, no thank you, I'm perfectly fine, is completely respected. The host will not be angry if you do not play the polite dance game. In fact, being direct fits perfectly with the idea of realistic hospitality. It keeps the stress low for everyone.
That is a relief. Clear words are better than complicated dances. So, we have talked about the arrival, the gift, the relaxing, and the snacks. We have had a wonderful, deep conversation on the sofa. But it is getting late. The tea in the pot is cold. This brings us to the final and maybe the most difficult part of the visit, leaving.
Leaving house smoothly is an art. It is the final memory you leave behind.
The source warns against sudden exits. It says that suddenly standing up, hitting your knees, and shouting, "Okay, bye," is a terrible way to end a visit. Why does a sudden exit feel so wrong if the visit was fun?
It feels wrong because a visit is a shared thing. You and the host have built a little bubble of friendship over the last hour. If you suddenly pop that bubble without warning, it's a shock.
It scares them.
Yeah, it feels like waking up from a deep sleep by having cold water thrown on you. A sudden exit makes the host question the whole visit. They might think, did I say something wrong? Are they angry? Why are they running away? A good departure requires a gentle, slowing down of the energy.
To help with this gentle slowing down, the source talks about listening for the polite alarm bell. What are the signs that cause this imaginary alarm bell to ring in your head? How do we know it is time to start leaving?
The signs are usually small changes in the room. Maybe the talking has reached a natural stop and the quiet moments are getting a little bit longer. Maybe the host turns their body away from you slightly or looks toward the window.
What about cleaning up?
Yes, exactly. Maybe you notice the host quietly cleaning up a teacup. These are silent signs that the social energy is getting low. When you notice these signs, the polite alarm bell rings in your head, telling you that it is time to start leaving.
Once the bell rings, we need the right words to start the end. The source provides phrases like, "Well, I should get going," or "I think I should head out." These phrases are so interesting to me because they are not actually saying goodbye yet. They are just announcing the plan to say goodbye later.
Exactly. They act as a soft cushion. When you say, I should get going, you are giving the host a warning. You are allowing the host to mentally prepare for the end of the visit. It starts a slow change.
How does the host usually reply?
The host might say, "Oh, already," or "It was so nice to see you." It allows the conversation to slowly walk toward the front door. It is the exact opposite of the sudden exit.
The source points out another phrase for this moment that carries a lot of meaning. A guest can say, "I don't want to overstay my welcome. Let us look closely at overstaying." The host invited you because they welcome you. How does a welcome run out of time?
A welcome runs out because human energy is limited. Hosting requires a person to be turned on. Even with easy hospitality, the host has to pay attention to you, make sure you are comfortable, and keep the talking going.
That takes work.
It does. After a certain amount of time, maybe 1 hour, maybe 4 hours, the host's energy battery starts to get low. They stop feeling happy about your presence and start feeling tired. That is the moment the welcome runs out.
So the guest's job is to leave while the battery still has some power left.
Precisely. You want to leave while the host is still enjoying you, not when they're just waiting for you to leave. By saying, "I don't want to overstay my welcome," the guest is showing a high level of social smarts. They are telling the host, "I see that your time and energy are important. I want to leave you with a happy feeling, not a tired feeling." It is a huge sign of respect.
That is a brilliant way to look at it. You leave them wanting to see you again, not wishing you had left an hour ago. So the guest announces their plan to leave, they slowly stand up, and they move back to the front door where the whole journey began. Before they step back outside into the public world, there is one final exchange. The source suggests the guest should say, "Thanks for having me."
It is the perfect closing phrase. It matches the opening invitation.
Thanks for having me. It shows that you know you were a guest in their safe space. And how does the source suggest the host replies to this?
The host should reply with a nice validation. The source recommends saying, "I'm really glad you came."
I'm really glad you came. I like that. It removes any worry the guest might have had about their visit. It proves that the effort of leaving the house, standing on the mat, taking off the shoes, and talking was all worth it.
It closes the circle nicely. The visit began with an invitation to come inside, and it ends with a thank you that the invitation was accepted. Both people are left feeling happy and respected.
This has been a truly fascinating deep dive. It is amazing how much meaning is hidden inside the most common, everyday moments. Let me quickly summarize the journey we took today for you, our listener.
I think looking at the steps from start to finish will show how all these small phrases connect to each other.
We began on the welcome mat, looking at how the warm pull of come on in builds a bridge, while the cold order of enter builds a wall. We explored the deep boundary of the front door and how asking shoes on or shoes off is not about dirt, but about following the host's rules.
We also saw the heavy cost of ignoring those rules with the story of the ant's silent, powerful anger.
Moving into the hallway, we learned the meaning of arriving empty-handed. We learned that bringing a small gift is a way to give something back. More importantly, we learned that when a host says, you didn't have to, they're not rejecting the gift. They're saying your presence is more valuable than the object.
Right, the person is always more important than the present.
As we sat down in the living room, we looked at the relief of realistic hospitality. We saw how the pressure of perfect cleaning creates stress, while the honesty of a messy house and shop-bought snacks creates a real connection. We discussed how a small gathering allows for deep talking, while a crowd of 30 makes a room give up.
We replace acting perfect with actually being present.
At the snack table, we clarified that saying, I'm good, simply means you are comfortable and do not need anything. We looked at the complex steps of the polite dance, understanding how refusing food and pushing food is a cultural tool to prove you are a good friend. But we also noted that in casual English, a direct yes please or no thank you is the best way to keep things simple.
Directness makes things so much easier for everyone.
Finally, we listened for the polite alarm bell. We learned to avoid the shock of the sudden exit by using soft phrases like, I should get going. We explored the smart choice of leaving before the host's battery is empty by not overstaying our welcome. And we closed the circle with the mutual thank yous of, thanks for having me, and I'm really glad you came.
It is a complete map of human connection inside a home.
It really is. The words are simple, but the actions behind them are incredibly complex. They manage fear, show respect, handle sharing, and protect energy. Before we close the door on this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to think about.
I always look forward to the final question. What should our listener think about now?
We spent a lot of time today talking about secret rules, the shoe rules, the polite dance, the rules of a room. We focused on what it is like to step into someone else's space. But I want you to turn the mirror around. Think about your own home, your own safe space. Every single person has secret rules for their home that they never actually speak out loud.
Oh, that is very true.
Maybe you have an invisible rule about where guests should place their cups. Maybe there is a specific chair you secretly hate seeing people sit in. Maybe you have a secret clock in your head for how long a perfect visit should last before you start feeling tired. Think about your own secret rules. Are you setting your guests up to fail the way the ant did with the wet shoes? Or are you using clear, simple words to guide them safely through your space? How can you change your own phrases to make the next person who stepped inside your home feel immediately at peace?
That is a deep thought. It forces us to take responsibility for how we make other people feel.
Exactly. We are all hosts, and we are all guests at different times. The more we understand these simple words, the better we can connect with each other. Well, that brings us to the end of our time together today. I want to express my deepest thanks to our expert for walking us through this fascinating social map. Your thoughts completely changed how I view a simple cup of tea and a front door.
It was entirely my privilege. Thank you so much for leading such a wonderful conversation. It is always a joy to look at the hidden rules of everyday life with you and with our listener.
And to you, the listener, thank you for inviting us into your ears today. Whether you are listening on a walk, in your car, or perhaps while cleaning your house for a guest, we appreciate your time. Remember, the next time you stand on a welcome mat, you do not need perfect grammar. You just need a few simple words and a clear desire to connect. Take care, keep exploring the world around you, and we will be right here waiting for you on the next deep dive.